Welcome to the Heal Podcast. I'm Kelly Noonan-Gores, and every week I speak to the leading doctors, healers, spiritual teachers, and scientists to find out what is truly possible when it comes to healing. I also interview real people with extraordinary healing stories. My philosophy is, what's possible for one is possible for all. All right. Well, what a treat it is today to have the great Anthony William, medical medium, on the Heal Podcast. Thank you so much.
I'm honored.
We're like bowing to each other.
I'm bowing. I feel the same. I feel the same way. It's incredible to be here. I can't believe it. Thank you for having me on. Seriously.
Seriously, I'm much more honored. We've been talking about doing this since I think the summer. So time is just like a time vortex right now. Where has the time gone? It's been far too long, but I'm so glad we're here today. And you have these incredible new books out. I'm going to read a little bit about your bio, but these massive, amazing, and of course, #1 bestsellers, New York Times bestsellers, like all your books. Brain Saver. I mean, the preparation for this interview was real intense. These books are serious. And then the Brain Saver protocols, cleanses, and recipes. But man, are they a godsend. Wow. So let me just read your bio for the, 2 people out of billions that don't know who you are. So medical medium Anthony William is the chronic illness expert. He's the originator of the global Celery juice movement and brain shot therapy. He's the host of the Medical Medium podcast and is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of the new books I just showed you, Brain Saver Protocols, Cleanses, and Recipes, the book Cleanse to Heal, Celery Juice, Liver Rescue, Thyroid Healing, Life-Changing Foods, and of course, the OG book that changed so many lives, the new revised and expanded book, Medical Medium. Anthony was born with the unique ability to converse with the spirit of compassion, who provides him with extraordinarily advanced healing medical information that's far ahead of its time. Since the age of 4, Anthony has been using his gift to see into people's conditions and tell them and their doctors how to recover their health. Over decades of helping individuals find answers they needed, Anthony found that he could only help so many as his waiting list continued to grow. I myself get hit up all the time to be like, please connect me to Anthony. This is how potent and powerful your information is. So now Anthony dedicates much of his time and energy to listening to Spirit of Compassion's information and placing it into books so that everybody can access his information and have an opportunity to heal. His unprecedented accuracy and success rate as the medical medium have earned him the trust and love of millions worldwide, among them movie stars, rock stars, billionaires, professional athletes, and countless other people from all walks of life who couldn't find a way to heal until he provided them with insights from above. Over the decades, Anthony has also been an invaluable resource to doctors who needed help solving the most difficult cases. So you are a gift to humanity because of your gift. And let's just dive in. How did this brain shot therapy and the Brain Saver book come into being?
Well, neurological problems are exploding out there. And over the decades, so many symptoms people haven't even been classified as a neurological symptom when it actually was. And people go to the doctors, they go to the specialist neurologist, and not even with all the help that's been out there, people get their symptoms classified properly. Like fatigue itself, that's unexplainable, like a mystery fatigue, is neurological. That's neurological fatigue. And that's a term that Spirit of Compassion and I have put out there over the years, because it's not just fatigue. It's not like you're tired or exhausted or you're overworked or you overexercised. It's a fatigue that there's no answer for. It's impeding your life. It's stopping you from functioning. And so that's an actual neurological symptom. That's just one. So neurological symptoms are just exploding. Everything from tingles and numbness to burning skin, burning mouth, jaw pain, neck pain, blurry vision, to eye floaters to all kinds of different conditions. People have tinnitus, vertigo, like feeling like your balance is off. And I'm just naming a few right now. But so many people are suffering to such an extent. And I've talked about it for years, but I want to make sure, hey, let me get over 300 symptoms, conditions in the book so people have answers to how it happened. It's, one part of healing is knowing what's wrong. It's like once you know what's wrong and it makes sense and it's this profound experience you have, it's like you're going for answers, you're looking for answers, you're looking for help. I need help. I need help, and I'm sick and I'm getting twitches and spasms and tics and aches and pains and I don't feel good and brain fog. But why? Why? You go to the doctor, but we don't know why. Maybe you'll get an autoimmune diagnosis. Maybe the doctor will be like, well, you got autoimmune. Here's your markers. Your IgG. Here's your markers. Here's what's happening in your blood work. But why are you sick? And that's what it's about. That's what the Medical Medium book series has always been about. That's what the Brain Saver books are about too. It's that why. And then how? How do I get out of this? And people, they're really struggling out there. There's people out there that are literally, they're on their hands and knees. They're praying to God. They're praying just to anything, anybody. They're calling for help because their life has just stopped and they can't work, they can't function. And then they end up on Mattress Island. And when they're on Mattress Island and they spend most of their days and hours and time on Mattress Island, which is basically in bed, or on the couch island, it's like, I need help. I've been to 10 doctors. I've been to acupuncturists, naturopaths, DOs. I've been to all the different healers and practitioners and specialists and internists, and I'm still sick. And that's what medical medium information has always been for. It's that person who has been on a journey, tried everything, done that. Like what you'll find is seasoned people who have come to medical medium information and they've found answers and they're seasoned. They know what they've tried in the past. They know what didn't work and they know what they've been through. And so when they find these answers, it's like, oh my God. And then the results come because they're trying things that weren't out there, that they didn't see before, like 32 ounces of celery juice on an empty stomach and the brain shot therapies now that are in and the heavy metal detox cleanses. So it's always been about the person who's really sick with chronic illness and then getting an answer. And then what do I do about it? And that's what medical medium information is partly about.
It's amazing because, not only do we not, especially in Western medicine, whether it's mystery illness or not, rarely do we understand. We might get a diagnosis. We don't get the root cause. So we just get a treatment to treat the symptoms. We don't get the roadmap to get to the root cause and change that, environment or circumstance or trigger.
And if we're lucky, we get a label, and a label's not an answer. It's like, I have fibromyalgia now. I got a label, but it's not an answer to anything.
Right.
But it makes you feel like you got an answer. I went to 5 doctors. I finally got a diagnosis of fibro. I got a diagnosis of psoriatic arthritis. I got a diagnosis of RA. But is that an answer? It's not an answer. It's a name to a set of symptoms that basically the industry said, okay, pawed through some medical textbook. So you have fibro. That's what it is. That's what your pain here is. Your pain here and your pain. We did some blood work. We did some testing. We don't really see anything wrong with you. It's fibromyalgia. And that's the answer they get. So.
And you talk about, you've talked about this in many of your books, but especially with the brain now, which diving into this book was like, obviously it's a wealth of information and anybody dealing with any symptomology should read it because you talk about all the different environmental toxins, specifically heavy metals, and then virus and viral, all the viruses that live in our world that are ubiquitous and in our blood. And these, you've talked about them for years, medical medium information, Epstein-Barr, and these herpetic viruses. I
was called the Epstein-Barr guy. I was
EVP
I was made fun of like as if I was making it up or something about Epstein-Barr. And now it's people, they're just, all the doctors are testing for Epstein-Barr because of the medical meeting. Millions of medical meeting books went around the planet, and people are looking for Epstein-Barr. I published that Epstein-Barr is the cause of multiple sclerosis 8 years ago. And now Harvard said, hey, you guys, we found out that Epstein-Barr is the cause of multiple sclerosis. Oh, we won't cite medical medium, even though it was published in a #1 New York Times bestselling book 8 years ago, and millions of copies have been around the world. But by the way, it's the cause. It's like, so the medical medium information is ahead of science research and only gets proven right as the years go by. That's just one thing proven right. Another thing is just long COVID. Long COVID was long flu. This is medical medium information. People get the flu. I've seen this for years. They get a bad flu. It knocks down their immune system. They get very weakened from it. Their immune system becomes weakened from it. And then Epstein-Barr and other viral infections rise up because the flu knocked them down. And now they're sick for months after the flu. And that's the same thing with long COVID. And we can talk about long COVID as we go along, but that's the same thing with long COVID. It's these mysterious symptoms that happen after you've gotten COVID, and they just continue on. And then Epstein-Barr virus is really what's underlying. It's reactivated Epstein-Barr virus, original info, where reactivated Epstein-Barr rises up in the body because the immune system was so clobbered and knocked down so low. And so, yeah, we've been talking about viruses for years.
Yeah. And you have protocols. You have protocols and recipes and cleanses and these brain shots. Talk to us. What are the brain shots? Because I think it's so cool. You have, all these like 3 different categories, and I'm sure they just came to you, but they're specific, like highly minerals and spices and veggies, and like, so tell us what the brain shots are and what they're doing for people, because I've heard incredible feedback about what they're able to do for people and healing instantaneously.
Well, and that's what's happening. So the brain shot therapies are therapies that came from Spirit of Compassion, the voice I hear, and the combinations are specific. So it's a combinations of a wild food, an herb, a leafy green, a fruit, or a vegetable, or an herb or spice. And it's a combination of these. And it's for instant relief. And it's like a miracle has happened. So many people are using the brain shot therapies, and they're getting instant relief for OCD. They're getting instant relief for their adrenals. There's 3 classifications in the Brain Saver book. It's stabilizers, shifters, and exposure shots. So if someone feels like they were exposed to a virus, they could do the exposure shot. If someone feels like they were exposed to heavy metals or exposed to a pharmaceutical, they can do the pharmaceutical exposure shot or the heavy metal exposure shot. If someone feels like they need something stabilized, like maybe they feel like they're getting burnt out, or they feel like their adrenals need help, you can do some of the stabilizers. But it's giving people instant relief, like miraculous instant relief. And it's incredible because it's the combination, the right amounts for each condition. I would never know what that is. It's because I got the information from above. So it's not man-made. It's not like, oh, let me just see now. Let me see what could help somebody's OCD. I'm going to put together carrots and maybe I'll put a potato in there. Maybe I'll put some lettuce in there. It's not that. It's like these specific combinations. It's mind-blowing information that came through, and it gives people like an instant hit. Powerful though. And when people do the brain shot therapies, I mean, in minutes, they're feeling relief from migraines, from all kinds of suffering, from mental, spiritual, emotional, physical, all of it. And it's really exciting to see this. Like I'm just so blown away.
Yeah. And I obviously, you talk about neurological symptoms are just exploding. Also, we see this explosion, especially in the last 3 years, but, from the rise of social media and inundation of information, and most of it negative. We see this depression and anxiety just going through the roof, and then OCD and all these things that come along with it. And what most people think depression and anxiety is purely psychological, but what you talk about is all of the physical trauma that's going on in the brain because of these toxic exposures, or so can you talk a little bit about like that?
Sure. So anxiety is a physical problem for people. It's actually physical because if it lingers, if okay, it's different if someone has an acute anxiety condition that happens when some trauma occurs. Like if you had trauma, if you've had extreme stress, if you had a great loss, something if something really challenging happened in your life and it created this basically a hyper acute situation where you have anxiety. But once things calm down and die down, like you're moving forward with your life, the stress is down, you're getting past what the challenge was, things are getting better, but you have anxiety that's continuing and continuing and continuing, and you can't get out of that cycle. And it's in panic attacks and it's in other varieties of anxiety symptoms. That's when we have something that was triggered from that emotional experience. Because when we go through a loss or any kind of hardship, our immune system just drops. It hits rock bottom for moments. And that can open the door for any other thing to happen. Another thing, too, is there's people out there that don't have a great loss or a serious challenge in the moment or anything. And they're just living their life. Everything's great. They're happy. And then a panic attack occurs and they get their first panic attack and they're in the hospital. They're in the emergency room. They're being told you didn't have a heart attack. You're getting all the tests, and everything. And there's that group of people too, because something else is happening. It's a physical condition developing, and the vagus nerves play a huge role in anxiety, where the vagus nerves get inflamed. So something's going on in your life in that moment where the vagus nerves are starting to get inflamed. And that can trigger off a bout of anxiety or chronic anxiety that happens with people. Toxic heavy metals are a big one. So many people have toxic heavy metals inside their brain, and then the metals start to move. They start to shift. They start to gravitate and go into adjacent tissue. And the more metals we have, and the more byproduct produced from oxidation from these metals going into different parts of the brain can trigger off anxiety too. So eventually you get these cranial nerve inflammatory signs where it's your vagus nerves are responding to the problem you have with the toxic heavy metals, or you're having other issues with it. But either way, anxiety, and I talk about it in great detail in the Brain Saver book, there are real true reasons why people are suffering from anxiety. And that's the anxiety that comes with a perfectly healthy person. It seems like everything's great. They're healthy. Nothing's wrong with them. And all of a sudden now they're panic attacks and their arms go numb and they're laying on the floor and they're having breathing attacks and they're having continual ones. There's real reasons for this. And the tightness of the chest is a big one. Tightness of the throat, tightness of the chest. This is when the vagus nerves are being affected by something. Toxic heavy metals, low-grade viral situations like Epstein-Barr, shingles is another one. All these combinations can create this inflammation in the vagus nerves. And then, of course, you can have difficult times in your life and stressful situations. But a lot of people who have that don't carry the anxiety past that.
Mhm.
They have it when they're up against stress and problems. When the stress and problems reduce, the anxiety reduces, and they want to move forward in their life. They want to live their life. But if anxiety is coming when everything's going good, there's a bigger physical reason deep down inside.
Yeah. And I think that is like, so it's the fact that you give people answers of what's going on, information that's not known or not easily accessed or tested for in Western medicine. And then it makes people not feel crazy. It's like, oh, I don't feel bad about myself because I'm depressed. No, there's actually like a toxic interruption going on in my brain and my nervous system that there's, and after I get that information now, and I also have a roadmap, there's something to do about it, a protocol, like, so, I mean, this really is anyone suffering from any sort of anxiety, depression, addiction, brain fog, neurological symptoms, Lyme, ADHD, Alzheimer's, autoimmune, seizures, like it's OCD, all of this stuff. There's answers and there's a way out of the dark. So again, this it's revolutionary and it's such a gift.
It matters. And usually the people that come to medical medium books and the information are people that have tried everything out there. been through it all. They've been through the mill, they've been through the ringer, they've been through hell and back, and they just say, okay, I'm going to give it a try. I heard about this guy over and over again over the years, and let me take a look at this. And then it just starts making sense. And then they actually get a real answer, and then they start healing. And that's how the process always works. And you know, you get the naysayers. They're like, no, I'm never going to do what a medical medium guy is saying or something in here. But when you're sick enough and you've been through it all, it's like, okay, I need out of this.
Yeah, I'll try
And
anything. Yeah. And so with something you said, medical medium information, Epstein-Barr causes multiple sclerosis. I know that you talk about Parkinson's in here. For those things that we see in Alzheimer's as irreversible, I believe in the incredible regenerative power of the mind and the body, and the brain and the body, tissues, cells. I feel like our vessel is incredibly intelligent. And so I would love to know from you, are you seeing people reverse and heal totally from MS when they're doing your protocol?
Absolutely. We have so many years of people getting out of wheelchairs, walking again, going back to their lives. We have so many testimonials. So many people have healed from MS and other conditions. Alzheimer's is like what you're saying is really interesting. It's like it's true. It's like we have to be in a great state of mind. We have to have hope. We have to, be using our bodies the brilliant strength it has to strengthen our immune system and work on helping us heal. I always say we use our brain to heal our brain. We need to use our own brain to heal our brain. And we need to use our own soul to heal our body. We need to use our own consciousness, subconsciousness, soul, and physical brain to heal our body. It's critical. But even with that, you still have to know like what caused the sickness. You still have to know what to do. You still have to know how to protect yourself. Like blood draw is a big one. So I got to tell you, so in the book, I have this incredible chapter about blood draw. So you get your blood test. And when you go and get your blood tested, there's something that's been happening in the world that no one had their eye on. And Spirit of Compassion brought it to my attention years ago, and I decided to dedicate a tremendous amount of energy to enlightening people about blood draw, how to protect yourself. So when you go get your blood test, they'll take vials, multiple vials. Many times, if you're sick, they'll take 5 vials, 7 vials, 10 vials, 15 vials. If you're really sick and you go to specialists, they may take 27 vials. They'll even take 40 vials of blood. The problem is a large part of your immune system is in your bloodstream. And the reason why you're going to the doctor to get help is because you have immune system problems. You're sick. Something's wrong. Whether it's an autoimmune issue or anything else happening in your body, you're going to see the doctor because you're sick and your immune system is struggling. So they take blood. And the problem, it's a catch-22. It's a vicious cycle. They take too much blood. They're removing your immune system, and you slowly get sicker and sicker. And here's where it's really scary. As you're declining in your health because they're removing blood, they take more blood because you're declining. So what's happening, it's really god awful because so many people have lost their lives in the alternative medicine world and conventional medicine world getting help because they basically have been bled to death. Not literally bled to death in a sense where all the blood out of their body, but instead critical aspects of what's keeping them going alive and strong and battling their illness gets removed out of the blood constantly. I've watched this for years. I've watched people go through hell because of it and lose their lives, essentially. What happens is when you get the blood work, your bone marrow has to go into overdrive, produce immune cells. And already these people who are sick and chronically ill, they're in a deficit. They're in an immune cell deficit. Their lymphocytes, monocytes, basophils, everything is in a deficit. They're struggling. Even if a basic blood test looks to be like, oh, you got an immune system, it's not looking at every part of the immune system for your nervous system, your central nervous system, your immune system for other aspects of the body. So what happens is they draw blood, too much blood. You're getting all this blood work done, getting all these profiles done, and you're going downhill. I've watched it with Lyme disease for years. people with Lyme disease getting 20 vials, then another 20 vials, then a month later, another 20 vials, a week later to another specialist, another 20 vials, until they're bedridden and can't ever get out from under it, because all the important stuff, their immune system, critical electrolytes for their brain, for their neurons, critical trace minerals, all being taken out while they're trying to heal, while they're struggling with something that's really hindering their immune system. So what happens is people go and get all their blood work. It lowers their immune system more. Viruses that are affecting them, like shingles, HHV6, cytomegalovirus, HSV1, herpes simplex 1, 2, all the different H8s, HHV8, 7s, all the different viruses people have, they start to rise up and they get all these infections and it makes them worse. So they're sick anyway. They're going to the doctor for blood work and they're getting sicker, and they're losing the quality of their life. I was the first to bring this to the world's attention. And I'm still working on getting it out there. It's in the Brain Saver books. But it's critical to know how to protect yourself at the doctor's office.
Yeah. What's the alternative? I mean, what?
I'll give everybody a little window into it now. You want to go with less vials. You want to go with half-filled vials. You tell the doctor you want half vials. Now, they'll tell you that the lab doesn't accept half vials, and they'll tell you that, well, the lab usually, they'll say, we can't make a serum. So we can't make a serum if we don't have enough blood. But it's not true. They throw all the blood away. They use very little. They only need a tiny bit. They can take blood, a speck of blood on a pair of jeans from someone who was murdered 40 years ago in a shallow grave, and still run an amazing amount of diagnostics, an amazing amount of profiles off that tiny blood. They can take a tiny bit of blood from a baby and do a whole thyroid profile and a whole bunch of other stuff with this much blood from a baby. But what they do, and the system is rigged, I don't know why it's rigged. Maybe it was just the greatest mistake and no one knew. The point is that there's a lot of smart people out there, and a lot smarter than me, and this should have been figured out. And it shouldn't have been my job to actually alert the world on this. But they're bleeding people to death. They're making them sicker. If you have long COVID and you're now going to the doctor and getting 5 vials, 7 vials, 10 vials, you're going downhill. You're going to have long COVID forever, because what happens is they're removing the immune system that's fighting the very infection that's giving you long COVID. The Brain Saver books have protocols to protect yourself before blood work and after blood work. And it teaches you how to ask for quarter vials, half vials. They'll do it. If you get your doctor behind you, you'll send the blood out at half vials and the lab will take them and everybody will be happy. But if you don't stick up for yourself and fight for it, they'll just give you this runaround. They'll say, oh, no, they need full vials. The lab needs it. The lab has to have it to make a serum. They'll give you every excuse that is not true. And so the blood draw chapter is extensive in here about this piece of information.
Yeah, that's key. I mean, yeah, we need to learn how to be our own advocates. Nobody's teaching us these things. You know, Heal does it a little bit with one aspect. You're doing it about this that we've never heard before, you know, the overdraw of blood. So, I mean, all these things are taking our power back, because we're just crippled right now with so many, you know.
It's critical. The blood draw thing is probably one of the biggest. And here's what's incredible: donating blood. So the profound information in here in the chapter is incredible. And this is part of it. Like when you donate blood. So guess who's donating all the blood out there? Sick women. That's who's donating all the blood. Women that should not be donating that much blood because their immune systems are already shot. Their immune systems are struggling. They're already sick with so many different autoimmune conditions, and their doctors are telling them to go donate blood. So the world we live in right now is the people that are donating, the blood donors, this is the majority of the blood donors, are women struggling with chronic illness. And then it's knocking them down more and more, and they're getting sicker and sicker because of it. and their bone marrow has to go into overdrive. They have to try to produce immune cells, and it could take 6 months to even produce the immune cells you need to even bring you back up to par. And when you get like 20 vials, 10 vials, even 5 vials, it can take 3 weeks, a month, 2 months to get your immune system back up to par. But the donating blood thing, I'm not against donating blood. It's just somebody should say something and say, I think we need more healthy guys donating blood. I think that that are not exhibiting any symptoms. I think we need more healthy women that are donating blood. Oh, but they're all too busy because they're living their life, doing their life. And what they've done is, for chronically ill sick women, they put it in their head that they need to go and donate blood and things like that. I mean, there's women that barely could even get out of their cars, drive to a blood donor place, and they're going in to donate blood. The bottom line is, it's all this information so people can protect themselves, really, because what's happening right now at the doctor's offices is people with chronic illness, they may not be able to stand a chance when they're just going through this and going to specialists, and they're getting so much blood work done. It's like, how do you get free from that? And that's a big part. That alone is worth everything with these books.
Wow.
Like the Brain Saver books. Just that alone, just having that in your back pocket can literally change your life, your child's life, your family's life.
Wow.
And there's a scale that tips. Like, you could be strong enough and you're getting blood work done, you got autoimmune, you're living your life, and then all of a sudden one day you get blood work done, and that's all you needed. And then the scale is tipped, and now you got 10 symptoms you never had, and you're now at a specialist getting more blood drawn. It's psycho.
This is a crazy question, but I spoke to a person who was exploring this. What do you feel about testing? Can you test for things through, this might be a little gross for people, through menstruation blood? Like blood that's already leaving the system. Can you use that and test it rather than being invasive and pulling out immune
I'm
blood?
sure they can. Absolutely. I mean, they only need a drop of blood, and they can literally get full thyroid. They can get, oh my God, full liver. They can do liver enzymes. They can do cholesterol. They can do, I mean, it's amazing what they can get done.
Got it.
They can do nutrients, like how much B12 is in your system and everything else. A1C. You don't need hardly any blood to test for A1C. You don't need blood at all. They got technology now where you don't need blood to check your A1C, but you only need a drop. They really only need that.
Okay.
But they're taking enough blood to fill a sea, an ocean, and then they're throwing it out. Or where's it going?
So good to know. Yeah. Protect your blood, people. You talk a lot about heavy metals, and I'm definitely, going to do a cleanse, because I feel like after reading these books, I've been in denial of my own burnout. It's been clear for 3 years, but I think I've had decades of brain burnout, to be honest. And I really want to address these things, because you made it crystal clear in your Brain Saver book what's going on. And so I feel kind of heavy metals are one invisible killer that's, just ubiquitous in our environments now, and really damaging our brains and our immune system. So to clean that out and to pull those out
and
constantly.
People don't see it, so it doesn't exist. It
Right.
doesn't exist, if you don't see it. But talking ADHD, it's toxic heavy metals. Autism, toxic heavy metals for the most part. Alzheimer's, toxic heavy metals. I was first to publish that toxic heavy metals create Alzheimer's, and first to talk about it, lecture about it for years. And now I think there's no study out there. There's no research done, but doctors are saying metals cause Alzheimer's. They should give me credit, because there isn't any science that proves that. It comes from above. Yeah. But now they're saying that. But I go into detail though about with Alzheimer's, how it works, like what the metal does in order to create Alzheimer's. It's not as simply as just you got metals in your head and that's why you got Alzheimer's. Like, I talk about the process as the metal sitting inside the brain and then oxidizing, and what occurs, and how each neuron gets infected with that pollution, and then the short circuit that happens. So Alzheimer's is toxic heavy metals, really. And people are getting Alzheimer's but not getting the diagnosis of Alzheimer's anymore. So they're like, whoa. They're actually trying to hold back the diagnoses out there because they're like, it doesn't look good. So they're trying to hold it back. Instead, they're trying to give them now a whole bunch of other diagnoses for Alzheimer's. So they're like, oh no, let's not give those that, those 200,000 grown-ups that are, 40 years old, let's not give them the diagnosis, even though they're exhibiting the same symptoms as the 80-year-old with Alzheimer's. They're actually, the industry's spooked right now because so many people are developing it.
Oy.
Yeah. And it would be, it's not like I want all the credit because I was the first to say metals create Alzheimer's. It's about so people know where to go. Yeah, I'm Dr. So-and-so, and I'm guilty of the crime of being a closet medical medium book reader. And I did find out that and it makes so much sense that I want to kind of lecture about it on podcasts. So I'm on podcast now telling other people that it's toxic heavy metal, so I look good. Well, I think I should cite the guy because he knows all about the real details and about how to fix it.
Yeah.
But good luck. Not too many do that. Some do that though. Some will cite it back. And I just don't want somebody losing 10 more years when they could have gotten the information. I'm not trying to look for the credit. I've always had a kick me sign on my back because I hear a voice, all of it. But it's about that person who actually could have heard the information and you just saved their life. You just made it so they can have answers. Think about the people that just listen to your podcast right now are going to know how to look out with the blood draw problem. I guarantee you there's going to be somebody that's listening to your podcast that is dealing with 3 diagnoses, Lyme disease, and a bunch of other stuff, and they're getting drained. And the minute they stop it and learn how to work with that, they're going to start getting their lives back just from this podcast episode alone. And all that matters. And
there's countless cancer patients. And I want to ask about that in a second, but, for people going through treatment and, or even I spoke to a woman on Monday who she's no evidence of disease, but because of her particular diagnosis, they still radiate and scan her every 3 months,
Yeah.
So to have protocols to help with radiation protection is a godsend. And I noticed as you look up in your index,
the radiation exposure shot. Yeah, in the medical medium book here, Brain Saver. Yeah, you're right. That's an incredible shot right there. Just using that while you're getting radiation, critical. Yeah, or even a scan, right? Or the radioactive ink. If you really get in touch with it, you'll be crying. It's like one or the other. It's like when I really think about it, and I think about all that's involved, people getting radiation poison, people getting their blood drawn, it can bring you to tears. And, and I can't, if I keep on breaking down in tears and I get in touch with that, and it's really hard for me to function. So how am I going to function? So I kind of do a natural, oh, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. I don't have the power to change the world like that. But so I try to kind of shake it off or, giggle it off or something, but it hurts. That's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, I have so many questions and I try to keep a light heart basically. And I tell people, keep a light heart. I got a doctor friend, and he was telling me how he knows that one of his patients' kids has radiation poisoning from a situation like this. And he said he was in tears, and I said, keep a light heart, try to just help them and keep a light heart, because once you go there, it's really hard to carry that. And I try not to carry all that because the best I can, because in the end, it'll just kill you because, when you see how many people are suffering and how many people are sick and all the problems they have. So I always say to people, try to keep a light heart, and then we move forward and then we work on healing. And that's kind of what I want to get into. A lot, inevitably when we post something about the medical medium, we'll get 3 angry followers that are like, oh, he's a medium, he's sacrilegious, and he's doing the devil's work or whatever that is. And that's I'm going to hell. People throw God at me. It's kind of funny because a lot of people do throw God at me. But the Bible states that mystics and psychics are going to hell and they're going to be they're going to burn in hell forever.
Right.
And thou who is a prophet that's not really a prophet, or whatever, you know, and they
whatever,
false prophets and all of that, you know. So people have been throwing that at me for years.
But then I get other people that are like, he's literally doing God's work because he's saving people's lives and he has changed.
But I guess I'm going to hell for it.
No, but this is what I want to ask about spirit of compassion.
Yeah.
For those people who are uncomfortable with the term medium, or they have a friend that they're like, oh my gosh, this information could save my friend's life, but there's born again Christian, they're not open to this. What would you say spirit of compassion? How would you describe spirit of compassion? And also, what does spirit of compassion say about this broken, sick, really dark times we're in? Like, what does spirit of compassion say? I mean, besides, I guess it's, you just answered that, keep a light heart, but I'm just like,
and
is there light ahead? Is there hope ahead? Are things changing? Are paradigms shifting?
It breaks my heart when someone turns a blind eye to the information because it comes from above, and they're just like, he's a medium, he's Lucifer, he's a devil, whatever. And it breaks my heart because I still care about that person that's talking crap about me. I still care about the people that hate me. I still care greatly because it's not personal. It's more of, I'm here to message and to be a messenger so that you can save someone else's life with this information, one of your family members' life, yourself. I try not to take it personal. Spirit of compassion told me, you're a messenger, and you're going to message this information as you hear it. Some people call that being a prophet. Some people call that medium, whatever it is. But it's about the person who's suffering and struggling. Don't make it about you. Don't make it about this about you. Don't make it about this being a personal thing. They don't know what they do. They don't. And they'll just be like, I'm never going to look at that medical medium book, and I'm never going to trust that guy because he's a medium, or there are a lot of Christians that love medical medium information because they know it's saving lives and it's saving their lives. Mm-hmm. And then there's Christians that, they're like, no, the Bible says he is, a false prophet, or he's a devil, or whatever. But I don't all of a sudden say, well, those people are being, stupid, or those people are terrible, or those people. I just instantly say, I just hope that when they get sick, or if they're sick now, that they somehow find this information, mm-hmm. and it's free information. I'm not trying to build this massive empire. And it's more of like, you can go to the library and get this for free, and you can save your life and save somebody's life. And that's what's, that's what it's about. But if saving lives all these years means I'm damned to hell, it's worth the trip.
Well, God bless you. You are I know I've known you personally for years now, since we've done Heal, and you are one of the most caring and compassionate. That's where this work comes. I mean, let's talk a little bit about, like, it's this blessing, this ability to channel this connection with the spirit of compassion, and the fact that you are the first person bringing this information to the world in this way, and have been doing so for X amount of years, since you were 4 years old, saving lives, helping people find answers when they could not find answers. It's a burden. I mean, you can't fly on a plane because you literally go blind because you're inundated with so much information that Spirit of Compassion is trying to send you about all these people. So your blessing, it's not like you're out making billions and this is a burden every day.
No, people paid me in chickens. I was talking about this the other day, is that I had this shack and people would come to me and see me where I come from, and up in the woods. And it's like, and they would line up and they would fly around the world to my office, which was this like little shack, this office. And they would come to get help. And people would pay me in apples. They would just bring a basket of apples And I had an assistant that I could barely pay anything because I was paid in chickens and apples. People that had no money, they had nothing. And they would just be like, here's a whole bunch of dried herbs. Here's a basket of this. And what happened is we had this like storage spot outside, and it would fill up with all these things and presents and stuff. But I wasn't getting paid enough money. It'd be somebody would give a donation of $5 or $10. But it was this where it was like, there's only so many chickens I can have. I wasn't eating chicken, and the
And you don't
chickens,
eat eggs.
I don't eat eggs, and I let the chickens go all around the yard. And then I was like, well, now I need money to fence these chickens in over here because I don't want these chickens getting hurt or going too far. So now it's like I was hoping people had enough donations as I was helping them heal, giving them blasts of light, helping them in so many ways. And so eventually I have enough for some chicken wire. But this is how it works. It's like some people laugh at me and they'll be like, he hears a voice. Meanwhile, life-saving information comes from the voice I've been hearing since I'm age 4 constantly.
Yeah.
It's getting kind of old being the only one to have to bring it to everybody, but I need people's lives saved. I need them to know where the info comes from so they can save themselves. And
all your information that you're putting in this book, it's not like you're like coming up with some weird product. It's all products from nature. You're renaturing people. And I think that we're seeing that, and you talk about it in your book, that the breakdown of our health and the breakdown of our mental health is because
it's not man-made information in these books. It's not man-made anything. It's information I hear from a voice perfectly clear on the outside of my ear, just like someone's talking to you, and I can't turn it off. It's always there. I can't shut it down. I can't turn it off. And that voice is giving me information that I have to write down. That's why the medical medium books are, if you put these volumes together, and I'm not insulting any health authors out there, but I hear it all the time. People who have looked at all the vegan doctor books and the other doctor books and the keto doctor books, and they've read those, and then they find the medical medium books and they're like, dear Lord, why are these packed with nothing but incredible advanced medical information? And who can write these? And here's the thing, and I say it every time, I'm not a smart guy, and I mean that. Like, I am not that smart of a guy at all. In fact, like, here's the thing. If I don't hear it from a voice, am I a genius? Am I just an incredible genius? No, I'm not. And I could promise everybody I'm not a genius, okay? And so I'm like a regular person. I got a skin on me that can take a licking and keep on kicking, but I'm a regular person that has to take the information, message it to people, get it into the books, write it word for word. It's not man-made. And that's why everything happens with clarity. Like, when people find the information, it's like clarity. If they could get past the fact that it comes from above and not a scientific study. But I tell people who are like the critics and naysayers, just remember this: science research is taking so much of medical mediums information. The clinics are taking it. They're putting it now online. They have no research papers to back it up. I know, I have a team of people looking into it. They're taking published information from all my books right now, and they're putting it online right now. Clinics that never had the information before, it was published first here. So if you can't get past the voice I hear and the fact that it comes from above, just realize, why is everybody stealing it then and poaching it? Like credible industry people poaching it. They're not allowed to do it. I'm actually making sure people are going to hold some accountability, because it's going too far. You can't plagiarize.
Yeah.
But people read the books, and I hear it all the time, that the information makes so much sense, right? But it's not common sense, because there's nothing common about it, any of this information.
I love that it's all so grounded in nature. Everything is, food, everything is grounded in nature. It's from nature. It's renaturing us. And you say something brilliant in the book. You talk about the electromagnetic field of the brain actually magnetizes magnetizes the trace minerals that we need, which many of us are deficient in, that actually then help our brain evolve and become more intelligent. So what's happening is this beautiful electromagnetic field magnetize all these trace minerals over time. We became this evolved species, super intelligent, created industry, created technology, and now that industry and technology are toxifying us and killing us. So it's like this vicious cycle where we've evolved and now we're killing ourselves.
Here's what's really crazy, which is incredible about the information. What you're saying is we have this magnetic field in our brain that our brain creates and connected to our soul too, which is incredible. And it's drawing in trace minerals. So when you eat something, it's drawing in trace minerals and it's bringing them in because magnetically it's pulling in those trace minerals it needs. It's pulling them into all the neurons, right? And then we create industries that leach out toxic heavy metals from everything from pharmaceuticals to everything from air fresheners that are plugged in, from everything to scented candles to everything. We're then breathing in and eating all of this toxic heavy metal. And then our magnetic field draws in the metals too. Our magnetic field actually magnetically draws in all the toxic heavy metals along with the trace minerals we need. And so our brains are getting filled with the toxic heavy metals.
Yeah.
And these metals are industrialized, so they're not trace minerals, which are natural and not industrialized. So
it's wild. There's so much I want to squeeze in. So I'm going to ask you a few more questions. And so you talk about, well, first of all, your book made me realize and have to look at my addictions, which I always classified as moderations. You have chapter 10, The Trap of Moderation, and the opening line is, moderation never works for anyone. And I preach moderation all the time. I drink alcohol, I eat pizza, I eat fried foods, I drink coffee, but all in moderation. Well, and I'm healthy now, but again, if I'm honest with myself, my brain's been burnt out for a long time. I'm a high functioning, moderate addict or whatever it is. But like, so again, I've learned on a deep level what alcohol is doing to my brain, what caffeine is doing to the brain, and the 4 causes of addictions you go into, and then on top of those 4 causes, then the addiction of we're basically addicted to the adrenaline that's released when we take caffeine or we drink alcohol, which is supposed to help our brains mask these symptoms that are causing the toxicity that's causing us to have these effects. So we're addicted to adrenaline. So
and everybody has a scale. Like they can do the espressos, they can do the coffee, they can do the coffee drinks, they can put double espressos in their coffees, they can do all this stuff. And then eventually they got these panic attacks, problems and sickness, and all this stuff happens because their immune system finally tanked and the scale tipped, right? But everybody's at a different level, a different scale where they can handle it for a while. And there's some people chronically sick, you give them espresso and they're in the emergency room, right? So it's amazing how it works. I'm just glad you still like me, because the alcohol industry hates me, the caffeine industry hates me, the cacao industry hates me, the psychedelic industry hates me, all the psychedelic people hate me now because I'm not for psychedelics. They all say, no, I had the best experience. You can't tell me I didn't have the best experience of the psychedelic. And, and I'm like, I'm not saying you didn't have the best experience. I'm just saying, here's what it's doing to you and gonna do to you. So they hate me. The apple cider group hates me. Every apple cider vinegar group. Like I'm hated by all these industries and groups in the alternative industry. And it's part of why, like, I get the bad raps out there. But the point is, I'm glad you still like me.
Well, to be honest, I was like, well, what can we do? So I want to know what Anthony William eats in a day, and taking out all these things that bring me so much fun and joy, and then, pain and toxicity the next day. Taking all these things out of our life. Like, do you what, like, is there fun in life without all those moderate things?
There is, you just have to dial some of it back, and then you get freedom from it.
Okay.
Because, we if we dial some of it back and we experience the freedom, and then spiritual experiences actually become like unbelievable. Like, how spiritual is an experience when you're really jacked up on caffeine and you're looking over a mountaintop and you're out there on a mountain range, right? And you see the sun rising, but you're really jacked up on so much coffee and so much caffeine. Can you imagine if it wasn't there and it was just you in that sunset, you in that sunrise? And it wasn't the drug? whoa, talking about a spiritual experience, it takes it to another level.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so pure. Like, I feel like I just had the flu 2 days ago and I went through my protocols and I, was literally studying to prepare for this. And I didn't get to the section where I could have done the shock
Oh, the
therapy.
shock therapies.
I
Oh
know
my
I should
God.
have, like, I could have shocked it, but I did it pretty quickly. So I shocked it in 2 days using my therapy. But had I done yours, it probably would have been like 12 hours. But what I felt was after the symptoms of the flu and everything I went through, and it was brutal, I felt like I had gone through a reset and a detox, which I imagine your protocols take you. And I imagine you living such a clean life and doing your own protocols, you are in that state of clarity and high functioning brain, and everything is balanced, and glucose and trace minerals and all the things that your brain needs, and your body is free of toxic heavy metals because you're living your protocols. So you
But
are more connected to those spiritual
I
experiences
am, but I'm
of
my
your
own
life.
worst. I'm my own worst enemy, though. That's the problem, though, because it'll make me work harder and longer hours. I will then all of a sudden do something dangerous. I will sleep only a half an hour when I'm writing the books and do that for 3 days, where it's a half an hour a night. I will do reckless things. So I'm guilty of that crime. I really am, because I'm doing so many great things the Spirit of Compassion is offering me, but I'm taking advantage of it, maybe even abusing that, because I will work a 19, 20-hour day, 21-hour day, but I'll do it 7 days a week, and I'll do it for weeks and months. I will burn the candle at four ends. So it's almost like I'm getting the license with all these tools
Yeah.
to do something crazy because I have that much energy and that much clarity, where the brain doesn't die. Like, it just stays going, and it allows me to do things that I wouldn't recommend anybody to do. Like, don't sleep and work and work
Right.
and work. But another thing too is I feel really bad for people because they have to self-medicate, because they have the fatigue, they have the brain fog. So, like, I want people to know I'm not judging you for doing caffeine. I want people to know out there, I'm not judging you for doing a psychedelic, a caffeine, whatever it is that you're doing, or whatever you're eating. I that's not what I'm doing at all. It's the opposite, because guess what? I know you're doing it because there's a problem. And maybe someone didn't help you recognize that problem. Maybe someone didn't give you insight on that problem. You might have brain fog. You might have fatigue. You might not know you really have it that bad. You might think you just need caffeine or something else. And I am not judging anybody. You eat all the chocolate cake you want. You drink all the coffee you want. I'm not going to be upset. I'm just going to be like, whoa, you must be doing all that chocolate cake because you need that caffeine full throttle in the brain 24/7. You must be doing all that coffee. You must be doing all that matcha tea, because you can't hang with it otherwise. Something must be going on, and I want to help.
Mm.
I want to help. So
Yeah,
it's not like I'm
that's what I'm getting from reading your books. I'm like, okay, caffeine. All right, yeah. And I'm very sensitive. So like if I can't have more than a cup in the morning because my heart will race and I will be like edgy and panicky if I'm anything beyond that. But then you're like, good fats are not good. And I'm putting a coconut oil and blending it up. Like I'm doing everything wrong. It's a miracle that I'm healthy, but I know that if I continue to do what I'm doing
yeah.
without reset,
Burger King was always better than McDonald's because they flame broiled, right? So they flame broiled. So when they did that, for some reason, that got a little bit more of the fat out of the meat. So, but then Arby's was always a little better than Burger King, because they put more vegetables on some of their sandwiches, right? And then Olive Garden was always better than Arby's and Burger King and McDonald's, because Olive Garden, if you really focused, you probably could just get a salad. It would probably still have like stuff on it that isn't that great, obviously, but you get a salad there. They have more of that option. So they're better. See, there's these, you can climb up the ladder and you can keep on climbing. Next thing you know it, you're at the keto diet, but you can climb much higher. Next thing you know it, you're at the next diet. Now all of a sudden you're like, coconut oil's not good. Wait a minute, all the science says coconut oil is great. No, coconut oil's fine. But if you're really sick, you might be able to get rid of the coconut oil and even climb higher. Even though, of course, I want people who are going to eat. If you're going to eat a cheeseburger out there, I'd rather have somebody on coconut oil or avocado or something. but you can keep on climbing and climbing. The tears are unbelievable. And that's what makes the ultimate thing about the medical medium information from Spirit of Compassion. It's the only thing out there, whatever you want to call it, thing that's not one size fits all. You can come to medical medium on meat, and I'll be like, you can heal on meat. Yes, you can. And here's how you do it. You can come to medical medium as a vegan. So many vegans, they can't heal. They're just stuck eating vegan wrong. I'm not trying to pick on them. I'm just saying, and you can come to medical medium as a vegan. We're not going to shame you for being a vegan, but we're going to show you how to do it right if you want to stay vegan. We're going to show you how to do it right if you want to stay animal and eat animal. We're going to show you how to do it so you can get out of your jam, and it isn't one size fits all. You can customize it and take yourself to the top as far as you want to climb. You can go from McDonald's to coconut oil and beyond coconut oil.
Okay.
And that's the difference.
Okay. I love it. I love it. But the information is good, and it's a good mirror to reflect back to you some things that you might want to look at and change, and then you give protocols to do so.
You got me excited today, right?
I love it. I love it. Excited, Anthony. What is one fun fact about Anthony William that the public doesn't know?
The public doesn't know? What's there's a few different things. I mean, a bunch of things I'm sure the public doesn't know. Let's see.
Are you willing to share?
Okay, here's a fun fact, okay? I like to ask questions that I'm not supposed to ask. All right. And so I asked Spirit of Compassion lots of different questions, right? So that's what I spend my spare time doing. Like, when is the earth going to blow up? You know, when is whatever question I could think of? When is there going to be a nuclear disaster? When is a volcano going to explode?
Did Spirit of Compassion tell you about Mauna Kea?
These are questions I always ask myself that I don't talk publicly about. You know, is that Sasquatch sighting real? Someone saw.
I love it.
These, you know what I mean? Is that photo with the ghost hanging upside down with a noose around its neck? Is that a real photo? Was it photoshopped?
Yes.
I'm giving you just, these are the facts. These are the facts that AW in his own personal life does, right? I ask Spirit of Compassion questions that I'm probably not supposed to ask. It's not going to help really anyone. And
but
so,
I think you've earned that right.
SOC wants me asking questions that actually help people. It's all about helping people 24/7. And that's what it's been ingrained in me since I was age 4. Right. But I will go off course and say, is a meteorite going to accidentally somehow find its way to Earth within the next 30 years? Like, these are all the questions. Is something going to happen at Yellowstone? Something kind of blow up out of the ground? Like, it's these things that I'm asking.
Who's going to win the presidential election? Do you ask?
I ask those questions too. I ask those questions about politics. I ask questions about all these other things to Spirit of Compassion. And even though I'm not a political person, I'm not a political guy.
Does he answer?
I get answers. I actually get answers, and that's what makes it fun, but it also makes it spooky.
Yeah.
It makes it spooky, but I do get answers. And so I just like to do stuff like that, have fun. But you guys, I'm not saying anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying I like to ask a lot of questions.
Last one, and then we'll go on. What if you didn't have the medical medium work and the Spirit of Compassion in your ear, and you were just normal little boy Anthony William with his dreams of being a firefighter, an astronaut, or a pro tennis player, what would your other life, your dream
I'd
career
probably be doing stupid things like trying to raft down a dangerous river, get killed doing it. What else would I do? Like stuff like that. Like, I don't like fishing because I don't want to hook a fish, because I feel bad because I think about the pain the fish is in, because I'm always dealing with so many people with trigeminal neuralgia, and I'm trying to get answers for people out to them about how to heal their trigeminal neuralgia. And so when I think about hooking a fish, that always bothered me as a kid. I felt bad. The jaw would break on a fish,
Oh.
But what would I be doing? I wouldn't be fishing, is what I'm saying.
Okay. but river rafting, daredevil.
I'd be river
adventure.
rafting, maybe.
You'd be an adventure man.
I mean, maybe I'd be an adventure person. Like that would be incredible. Break me out of this cage I'm in.
Yes.
Just
Jump out of a
free me,
plane.
free me away from SOC. SOC told me when I was young, SOC said to me, look, you may not make it past 14, 15 years old because there's a point where you can't stand hearing a voice in your ear anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so Spirit of Compassion really tried to help me through that so I would stay here because I almost just said, no, I'm out of here, And so it's been kind of like a cage my whole life with hearing this voice, but yet I try to pull it off and act like I'm a normal guy doing normal things. I don't act like what's happening. Like, for instance, I always say to Spirit of Compassion, if someone else had this gift of being able to do this and get this information out and everything, what would they do? And Spirit of Compassion said, well, most likely be holding their hands on their ears all the time, bumping in the walls, having anger fits, and everything else under the
Drinking
sun.
heavily. Yeah.
It would make a great spiritual guru situation because they would look, whoa, that person. But I try to pass it off like I'm normal guy, not having any problems. I don't go through that. Like I never want to hold my hands to my ears, even though I want to. And and I just try to pull it off to make myself look normal, which is probably not benefiting me because then people just want to beat me up more. Maybe I should have had a stick of some kind, right, with it. And Spirit Compassion said, no, you be that normal person. You're that messenger. You don't have to you can fight the pain and suffering of hearing Spirit of Compassion. And because it's pain and suffering for me because after a while there's no break. Everybody wants a break from something. Everybody wants a break. And Spirit told me never to do that whole thing, like be a spiritual, try not to use this gift to be this spiritual special guru. Don't do that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's incredible gurus out there, spiritual people, incredible people out there in the world. He said, don't do that though. Try to act like your everyday person and don't even act. Be your everyday person. Don't use this gift and try to take it to a level of spiritualism. Try to be yourself, totally 100% yourself. And that's what I try to be.
I, for one, love you. You are just that last piece. I mean, breaks my heart. Your gift is a burden for you, and yet you selflessly continue to do the work you're doing and saving and helping millions of people around the planet. So
I'm honored. I can't shut the voice off. I can't shut Spirit of Compassion down, and I can't shut the voice off. It comes all the time, and it never stops. And I've gotten along with it, and that's just all I can do.
Well, thank you. We all thank you. We thank Spirit of Compassion through you, and stay strong. I wish there was something I could do to support you, and that you're supporting the world. It's like
you're having me on your incredible podcast. It's seriously, it's an honor to be on your podcast. I couldn't wait. And I really appreciate it because, and the people in the medical medium communities all around the world will appreciate it too. Because, what I notice is if like I do something different, like when someone cares about me, like you care, when someone cares about me, you'll see it. The medical medium community will be like, yeah, you had him on. Yeah. You know what I mean? They'll be like happy because
you have like rabid fans.
they want the information out there.
That's
anyway,
good.
and they care about others, and that's why. Anyway, thank you for having me on.
We love you. Thank you. And thank you for doing the work you do, and hope to see you soon.
Well, God bless you and see you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Heal Podcast. Be sure to tune in for more empowering wisdom and inspiring healing stories. Oh, and make sure you hit the follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss that one episode that holds the answer you've been searching for. And if you feel inspired, we would love you to rate and review us so that we have the opportunity to reach more people. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram for some behind-the-scenes fun and more inspiration at @HealDocumentary and @KellyGorris. Thank you so much and be well.